Ladies and gentlemen, fight fans all around the world, let's talk some boxing. So like I said, I'm about to debunk all the lies concerning MAYPAC. They said it's a very boring fight, and MAYPAC negatively affected boxing because now casual fans are not interested in boxing. When the reverse is actually true, more people actually watch boxing. More people are actually involved in boxing now more than ever. So let's get into it. First things first. They say that the casuals have been scared away from boxing and less people are interested in boxing. If that is true, then the advent of premier boxing champions should lead to a decline in viewership of boxing. Even though there's more boxing out there, there should be less people watching boxing. But what happened with the advent of premier boxing champions, which actually was launched after MAYPAC, was that we had the following facts. When it comes to broadcasting, Premier Boxing Channel, its debut on March the 7th on NBC with Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero, actually launched its broadcast peaking at 4.2 million views. In other words, NBC said that it was the most watched professional boxing telecast since Fox March 1998 Oscar De La Hoya's Fight Night. Now, before Premier Boxing Champions was there was ESPN on normal cable networks, okay? And most of the boxing that you really had to see was seen on Showtime, and it was seen on HBO. And the numbers on Showtime and HBO with subscription boxing was significantly lower than the numbers you see here. The numbers you see here, 4.2 million views, that is astronomically huger. That's a larger segment of the population watching boxing than what was previously on ESPN and previously on HBO and Showtime put together. In short, what I'm saying is that more people viewed boxing that night than had viewed boxing since 1998. Okay? Now put that all in perspective. So that Premier Boxing Champions, March 7th of 2015, this was actually before MAYPAC, okay? More people watched boxing than had previously watched boxing since 1998, even though boxing was on ESPN, even though we had HBO and Showtime. Let's keep it going. After MAYPAC, what happened? Well, after MAYPAC, we're going to look at the viewership. So we're going to go to TV ratings, and we're going to look at Premier Boxing Champion ratings. And this is what we found out. So we see here, we had ESPN's Santa Cruz versus Mares. Okay, Santa Cruz fought Abner Mares. That fight happened, I believe it was either this year or last, 2016 or 2015. Okay, I believe it was September 1st, 2015. So this is after MAYPAC. Okay, and it says here, ESPN Santa Cruz Mares delivers the largest boxing audience on ESPN since February of 1998. Okay, so on ESPN never had this viewership until Abner Mares versus Leo Santa Cruz occurred with Premier Boxing Champions. The third edition of ESPN's Premier Boxing Champion on ESPN, presented by Corona Extra, headlined by Leo Santa Cruz, majority decision win over Abner Mares on Saturday, August 29th, delivered the largest boxing audience on ESPN since February 1998. March 2 Sharp Johnson versus Arthur Johnson. The telecast was seen on average of 1.217 viewers. Okay, up 30% from the average of the previous two PBC telecasts on ESPN. The telecast peaked from 12 to 12:15 with 1.6 million viewers. Now, why that is very important is because you have to understand, people are saying that boxing, the interest by the casual fans and interest by fans in general on boxing has declined, and boxing is dying as a sport. But this information says otherwise. To the contrary, that more interest in it post MAYPAC happened. But let's keep it going. Okay, now they say here, the US Open, which is a big event in the United States, their Gulf coverage at best Premier Boxing Champions. But that's not surprising, because boxing's not a main market, it's a niche market. And even when it was on USA and it was on TV, you know, the usual cable networks, even the NBC, ABC, even then, you know, it wasn't, shall we say, it wasn't the mainstay. It was always a niche sport. But what's amazing to me is that when we look at the different networks here, Fox had 4.2 million viewers and a 0.8 rating. NBC had 2.1 million viewers, CBS 3.2, and ABC 2.1. In other words, the viewership that you see on these networks is much more than the viewership you would have gotten on cable, pay-per-view, or even on ESPN. ESPN was the only cable network that actually covered boxing. There was no more boxing on Fox, NBC, CBS, or ABC. That had been pulled off for many, many years. Okay, and now it's back on those things. So even though when you look at the ratings here on Fox or NBC or whatever, you see that certain programs actually have more viewership. The US Open here, which is the Gulf, was 4.12 million viewers. Okay, Premier Boxing Champions, which is here, had an NBC had 1.7 million viewers that same night. Okay, so you see that that's what it looked like. And Premier Boxing Champions had 2.38 after the Gulf was over. More people tuned into boxing, a million views, so it doubled. But the point anyway is this. My point is this, that you find that boxing was again back, and it had more views, and it was pretty competitive with everybody else, even though the stuff that was airing on the major networks seemed to supersede it for the most part. Okay, it matched with ABC's in an instant. Okay, but it was like the lowest ratings. But the point anyway is that at the end of the day, was it the lowest ratings? It wasn't the lowest ratings, but it was it was the lowest ratings, yeah. But still, at the end of the day, when you look at boxing, in terms of boxing, more people are watching boxing. And this is the important thing. Now, as we go along here with the data, PBC on NBC draws 3.2 million views, tops recent UFC on Fox efforts. So actually, this has to do with this was March 9th of 2005. Again, this is before MAYPAC, so we'll just pass on that one. And then when we look at Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter, which is a big fight, it had a rating of 2.0 on average, but it peaked at 2.6, which is a huge rating. Okay, and the amount of views that actually watched this telecast was, I'll show me in a minute. It actually passed Errol Spence versus Chris Algieri. They actually don't give you the amount of views, the amount of people who actually watched it, but the rating went up above Errol Spence versus Chris Algieri show, showing that boxing was doing very well. In fact, there's an interest in boxing, and there had to be more viewership, more new viewership coming to these things, because if the ratings go up, it means more people are watching, more people are interested. Okay, and then here in July, it says Premier Boxing Champions ratings on TV in America had done better than some had predicted in recent times. Okay, a few weeks back, the enthralling toe-to-toe battle between Keith Thurman and Sean Porter drew in a reported 4 million viewers on PBC and CBS broadcast in the States, a significant number for any live sporting event, it must be said. Early in the year, many have doubts how successful PBC will turn out to be, given the significant cash went through given to them by their investors. but it appears to have a ratings standpoint that they are not doing as bad as many would have you think. Last weekend, according to Nielsen ratings, the WBC heavyweight title between Deontay Wilder versus Chris Jericho brought in 2.54 million viewers on PBC on Foxcar. That's not bad numbers when you consider the fact that the fight was fairly late replacement for what was meant to be a defense for Wilder in Russia against Alexander Povetkin initially. So what I'm saying, the point I'm making is that the numbers here are still high and they're very competitive with other sports, and that's incredible considering that most people thought it was a risky proposition to start putting back boxing on local television networks and even on not just cable but also on local TV. And now it's doing well on local TV because more people are getting interested in the boxing events. Which leads us to the next point. The next point people say is that MAYPAC has affected pay-per-view sales, and pay-per-view sales have dropped after MAYPAC. If you look at Mayweather versus Pacquiao, which had a record 4.6 million pay-per-view buys, and grossing over $600 million. This number is very conservative. After MAYPAC, if you look at Mayweather's numbers, they actually dropped. Since Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather had not made such low pay-per-view numbers. 400,000, sorry. Okay? Now these are all conservative figures. 28 million is a conservative figure. This is actually bigger again, but we'll just leave that alone. Now the point anyway is that Mayweather versus Berto was lower. And if you look at Manny Pacquiao's numbers, the very same thing is seen here. Manny Pacquiao, after MAYPAC, he grossed in 400,000. Okay, that's not as low. He had a number like that before against Chris Algieri. But this is more on the lower end of Manny Pacquiao's scales after Oscar De La Hoya as well. Okay, his numbers dipped here and here, Rios and Algieri. And then Bradley 3 dipped, and it dipped again for Jesse Vargas. So people argue, the pay-per-view numbers have just fallen, and it's really taken a hit because of MAYPAC. This is what they say. They say Gennady Golovkin versus David Lemieux. Look at the numbers. Only 150,000 pay-per-view buys. Okay, he did a little better against Kell Brook, but then when you do the calculation, see, it's half the amount of the pay-per-view costs half the amount that it would cost in the United States. Well, a little actually less than half the amount. But if we just go with half the amount, it's really 250,000 pay-per-view buys, which is very conservative. It's very low, okay? And then Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward only drew in an estimated 160,000 pay-per-view buys. So HBO is saying that, because of MAYPAC, these pay-per-view buys, even great fights, are taking a hit. That's their narrative. But that narrative is not really true. Because if they're going with that narrative, their own network, Canelo Alvarez fought Miguel Cotto right after MAYPAC, November 21st, 2015. That grossed in 900,000 pay-per-view buys, almost 1 million pay-per-view buys. That did not take a hit, okay? And then Canelo Alvarez went on to fight Amir Khan and did 600,000 pay-per-view buys. These are record numbers. Canelo is not even fully into the pay-per-view, his pay-per-view career yet. And these are the kind of astronomical numbers he's making, okay? But against Liam Smith, 300,000 pay-per-view buys, okay? These numbers, this is a lower number. You look at Miguel Cotto, and you'll realize when he faced his last pay-per-view, which was against Canelo Alvarez, actually went up, carried his numbers up, okay? And he did 900,000 pay-per-view buys. Against Sergio Martinez, he didn't do those kinds of numbers. Now, the reason why that narrative that pay-per-view took a hit is not true either is because, and I told you I'm going to destroy these arguments, is because of Canelo and Cotto. But Canelo and Cotto, the very important thing is, it's the level of competition that you face in a pay-per-view and whether you also have a pay-per-view background. If you have been on pay-per-view and you're a pay-per-view star, that's one good thing. And the other thing is the level of competition you face that the public perceives to be a threat. So Cotto versus Canelo was seen to be a threat. Nobody knew who would win that fight. It was like a 50-50 fight. And they didn't know if Canelo would knock out Cotto, if Cotto would beat Canelo. And because of that, that pay-per-view was immense success. For Canelo, it was his second highest pay-per-view. And for Cotto, it was his third highest pay-per-view, only beaten back by his pay-per-view event with Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Okay, so Miguel Cotto, as you can see, was a long-standing pay-per-view star, and that helped. And Canelo as well was a long-standing pay-per-view star when they faced each other. Well, it wasn't long-standing, but he had a huge pay-per-view with Floyd Mayweather, who was pay-per-view king. Okay, and because of that, it affected his pay-per-view as well. So when you look at Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward, neither of them were pay-per-view stars. Neither of them ever had a pay-per-view before. So 160,000 pay-per-view buys is not bad, actually, for their first pay-per-view, seeing that neither of them were pay-per-view stars. Look, Miguel Cotto's first pay-per-view was 60,000 buys against the champion of the undefeated fighter Paulie Malignaggi. It was an exciting fight. But because Miguel Cotto wasn't a pay-per-view star and Paulie Malignaggi either, you got this kind of pay-per-view buys. That's just what happens. Because you're not known outside of the niche sport. Take, for instance, Keith Thurman is known in boxing, but he's not a household name. See what I'm saying? Oscar De La Hoya is a household name. Muhammad Ali is a household name. Floyd Mayweather is a household name. Manny Pacquiao is a household name. Everybody knows Manny Pacquiao. Everybody knows Floyd Mayweather. Everyone doesn't know GGG. People in boxing know GGG. But the world doesn't know GGG. See what I'm saying? So, GGG wasn't a pay-per-view star. When you become a pay-per-view star, you go... A lot of people know Canelo Alvarez. Even people who don't know boxing know Canelo Alvarez. He's a pay-per-view star. They know about it from his fight with Floyd Mayweather, right? A little bit more people know Miguel Cotto. It's not as well known, but some people outside of boxing know Miguel Cotto because these guys are pay-per-view stars, and you have to be known for people who want to buy your fights. Get it? So Gennady Golovkin, his first pay-per-view, did 150,000 buys. It's not bad. You know, it's not bad at all. But he's not a household name. People don't know Gennady. People who don't know boxing don't know Gennady Golovkin like that. Okay? In his second fight against Kell Brook, because Kell Brook is also a very good fighter, unlike David Lemieux, Golovkin had more competition. He got more pay-per-view buys because the pay-per-view buy cost went down, but also it's his second pay-per-view, so he's beginning to get known, and he's fighting known fighters now. Guys like Kell Brook, David Lemieux wasn't well known in boxing, but he was a world champion, so they kind of gave a little higher profile to him. So even though it's shown on HBO, it doesn't matter. You have to fight proven competition, and you have to fight someone who's a pay-per-view star or build your own pay-per-view reputation, which is what happened with Miguel Cotto, which is what happened with Floyd Mayweather, which is what happened with Manny Pacquiao. And then later on in their careers, they got to fight a big pay-per-view star in Oscar De La Hoya, and that changed everything for them. See what I'm saying? So that's the actual reason why these pay-per-views didn't do too well. And Steven Espinoza was the person who actually captured this, and he was able to relay this information so well to people. He said a lot of these pay-per-view events that were pay-per-view by HBO weren't pay-per-view events. You have to build up to a pay-per-view, and they didn't take the time to do that. They decided to rush things. So once again, we debunk the rubbish that goes for facts out here, that MAYPAC somehow, some way was responsible for turning people off from boxing. Boxing is dying. You know how long boxing has been dying? 200 years. Jackasses have been saying boxing has been dying. So don't believe the foolish negative rhetoric. Boxing is actually doing better than it's ever done before. People are using boxing as a form of exercise, and they're training in gyms. The gyms have been filled even more. Even after MAYPAC, there have been more people being in gyms and training in gyms and doing stuff in gyms. So don't let the lies fool you. don't let the rhetoric and the baloney cloud your judgment. These people who are saying these things are people backed by Oscar De La Hoya. They're backed by Top Rank. And you've seen the crap they've been doing. They put Ronda Rousey on the cover of Ring Magazine, which is a boxing magazine. They put an MMA fighter on it. They tried to encourage people to go to the sport of MMA instead of boxing. MMA is a young sport. So boxing is a seasoned sport. If you look, the MMA people, fighters, and so on have been going to boxing. They've been calling out fighters from boxing. All the time, MMA has been leaning on boxing. People are talking about boxing pay-per-view numbers are going down. It's not true at all. It just happens that the big pay-per-view stars of boxing, which is Floyd Mayweather, has left boxing. He was the draw. He was the pay-per-view king. So obviously when he leaves boxing, there's a void for a while until there's a build-up of another pay-per-view king, another pound-for-pound star. Okay? So the next star, the next big star of boxing has to come about. And that's all that's happening. It's a transition period where there's a jostling for the next big star in boxing. Because there's a void created when Floyd Mayweather left boxing. That's why everybody's talking about Floyd Mayweather all the time. Because he's still the dude. Until someone comes and outshines him. Right now, the person who looks like they're going to do that, and they're on their way to doing that, is Canelo Alvarez. Okay? And all Canelo Alvarez has to do is have one big win. If he beats Gennady Golovkin, that will be it. And he will take the next position and move on with boxing. Alright? If he doesn't fight someone of a real threat, he has to fight some real fighters. He's been fighting guys who the public hasn't perceived as real threats. Liam Smith wasn't perceived as a real threat. So Canelo now needs to go and fight somebody of real note. Now Liam Smith, by the way, was a world champion, so you have to give Canelo his props for that. But it's time he steps up and he fights somebody of real worth. A Charlo brother, Gennady Golovkin, he's got his share. Demetrius Andrade, you know, he's fought somebody of real worth in Erislandy Lara. He fought someone of real worth in Floyd Mayweather. He fought someone of real worth in Miguel Cotto. Okay? Austin Trout, real worth. Okay? So those are the four sterling names he really has on his list. We don't really count Shane Mosley because Shane Mosley's, you know, welterweight, super welterweight, yeah. But Mosley he didn't have a championship. He wasn't at the top of his game. He's just a name on his resume, but he's not somebody. When you fight people, there are two things we look for. One, are they at the top of their game? Doesn't matter if they're old or not, or if they're degraded. If they can win a world title against a legitimate opponent, or a legitimate name, it means they're still at the top of their game. You can't fault them for that because they reached the top again. And the top of the game is to become a world champion in your division, and if you can, become the number one guy or the top guy in your division. Right? You gotta listen, you gotta watch what's happening, not listen to the people who are whispering in your ear what's happening. You have to pay attention to what's happening. A lot of times I hear people talk about this guy was not in his prime and he wasn't in his prime. Was the guy a world champion? And if he was a world champion, who did he beat to become a world champion? If he beat a legitimate opponent to become a world champion, what the hell are you crying like a baby for? This is the kind of idiocy we have to deal with in boxing because people don't think, they just talk. You know what I'm saying? So I just debunked this nonsense about MAYPAC influencing boxing negatively. They try to associate anything with Floyd Mayweather negatively, if you notice. But the truth be told, the true narrative is this. MAYPAC helped boxing because a lot of people got interested in the sport. Now people are trying to learn more about the sport, and there are a lot of people interested in the sport, and the sport it's sweeping not just America but all across the world. In fact, in England, it's sparked to an all-time high. People are very enthusiastic about boxing. Welcome Floyd Mayweather in there, and we got people more knowledgeable about boxing. In the United States of America, the same thing is happening. But you got this crew, this stupid group of people who want boxing to be brutal. And all they care about is blood, guts, and knockouts. And this dumb group of people who don't know about boxing, they're the ones who are making boxing negative. These stupid people who put an MMA fighter on Ring Magazine, Okay? These stupid people who talk down about Floyd Mayweather, oh, he's not like the all-time greats. He could never be because he didn't knock out Pacquiao. That's the stuff we have to deal with. These are the people who are like a parasite to the sport of boxing and bringing it down. They have nothing positive to say. They always have a negative spin. Right now, Miguel Cotto is about to face James Kirkland. They've had tons of matches with Canelo Alvarez, which were mismatches. Okay? But all of a sudden, Miguel Cotto, he's too good to face James Kirkland. Okay? They have an agenda against Miguel Cotto, you see. You have to understand what's going on. It's politics. Because Cotto is not owned by Top Rank. He's not owned by Golden Boy. Cotto is his own dude, and he's with Rock Nation. And so the politics say we must talk ill of Miguel Cotto. But we get, Canelo Alvarez gets a pass. Triple G gets a pass, fighting nobodies. See what I'm saying? We must be real in the sport of boxing, and we must call a spade as it is a spade. You guys have a great one.